Hey everybody, welcome to Why We Love Horror. This is episode 77. I'm John Maher, and that's Abby Brooks, and that's Aaron Brooks. And we're in the middle of just like a new release drought. I mean, we could cover shitty VOD movies, but like that's what I have verses for, or we do special editions on. Next week we'll be back with a new release, I promise. But we're covering movies that we might have missed throughout the span. And before we get into that, how are you guys doing this week?
I think we're doing pretty good. We're all back.
Yeah, we're all back. The gang, the full trio is here. It's been a little bit of a here or there, one of us missing. So we're glad to all be here. I'm excited to talk about my 2024 picks this week and all of our 2023 picks.
Yeah, the first thing we're doing is we're playing catch up. Aaron did not get to give you his 2024 picks, and I felt like now that we have an opportunity to talk to him about it, we're just going to front load this episode with Aaron's 3 movies you might have missed in 2024 that he feels are hidden gems. What's the first 2024 movie that people should have watched?
So my first 2024 movie that people should have watched is a whopping 45 minutes, absolute banger from a guy who did a few movies that maybe fans of the genre have heard of. Kiyoshi Kurosawa is who I'm talking about, and it is Chime. That is my first pick. Again, 45-minute movie. It's about a chef who starts to hear a noise, almost like tinnitus in his ear, which tinnitus just like surrounds a lot of horror movies kind of randomly. Shout out to, Masking Threshold, of course. If you've not seen Masking Threshold, what an insane movie. And make sure after you watch it, you only suggest it to a certain type of people, because I suggested it to a courier at work and he doesn't talk to me anymore. So whatever, but shout out to that. Chime, really good movie, 45 minutes. And I mean, it just like creates a lot of dread within it. And it's about a chef, like culinary instructor. I love food. So like there's some great food in the movie as well, which is always kind of one of the things I watch for with my food related movies is like the food's got to look good if we're going to have that be a focus on the movie. What You Wish For was a movie we talked about earlier in the year. Didn't like it, and the food looked like shit. So
you know, like herpetic tongues. Oh my goodness, what's wrong with that?
Never. But I chime. Less is more with this movie. I actually watched it on YouTube. I believe it's still probably available over there as well. Actually, 2 of the movies I'm going to talk about with this list are from YouTube. Or at least you could watch on YouTube. So it's Chime. I don't want to talk a lot about it. Again, it's a 45-minute movie, so like I don't really want to give away too much. But if I had to compare it to another movie we have talked about somewhat recently, it really was similar to kind of the like vibe of Sleep. So there is some like kind of dark humor littered throughout it as well. And again, it's just nice to see Kiyoshi Kurosawa still making absolute bangers. So he's still got it. I think that this could have been a feature length, but because it wasn't, it really kind of gets right into the meat of it, pun intended, rather quickly. So less is more there. So that's all I'll talk about with Chime. But highly recommend it. And again, 45 minutes. The next one is more of a sci-fi horror. And it's Things Will Be Different. This is one that, John, you suggested to me, I believe, or we watched it around the same time. But I love the show Dark from Netflix. It's, I think, one of the best time travel shows, best shows ever. I have a soft spot for time travel overall. Back to the Future, one of my favorite movies ever. Just like it just kind of is rooted deep. And this is a very different take on kind of the time travel genre, I think. And it, like it all starts with them escaping a robbery, 2 siblings. And then, they end up in this, like hiding in a metaphysical farmhouse, and it takes them to different times. And things will be different indeed. But it's just like, it's really just very like psychological, I think. And I think in like a very well done, like emotionally satisfying way as well. And I don't know. It was a really good surprise, even after you had put it on my radar, John. Like I just still like really, really had a good time with this. I think people who are fans of sci-fi will enjoy this. I don't think the horror is super upfront. But at the same point, I do consider it for sure a horror movie. Like we know there's a lot of adjacents with it. So
it definitely is. And the one thing I'll say about things will be different is like, though they did not direct it, Justin Benson, Aaron Moorhead, if you like their movies, they executive produced it. It's right in their, it's right. It's a movie.
like they directed it. And I mean that in a good way.
Yeah. It's definitely a movie they would make.
Yeah.
What's your third movie?
And my third is another movie that's under 90 minutes. So like 2 of these movies you could watch together in less time than most movies take place now. And I think it'd be way better. If you do Chime and Milk and Cereal, you are a friend of mine. Curry Barker. I keep calling him Curry Baker. Curry Barker started on YouTube as with improv and comedic sketches and shorts and movies. And a lot of times you just see the comedy works so well with horror because it is ultimately about setting up expectations and going a different direction. Both genres are essentially. And yeah, this movie, I mean, really, really good. It's a found footage movie. It's about a surprise birthday prank. And then, like basically the realities of the aftermath of when a prank goes too far. And Curry Barker is the lead in this. He's the director in this. He's the writer of this. I think this guy is going to be around for a long time. I think it's just a matter of time I don't know if actually maybe I read A24 might have signed him, but one of these places, A24 or Neon, one of the two is going to sign this guy up at some point if they haven't already. And it's probably going to be because of Milk and Cereal. He's had some other shorts that I know I'm cheating here, but the one called Warnings, also on YouTube, I highly suggest it. There's just like a dark black humor to his stuff that I think, we talked about The Monkey a few weeks ago, how that kind of, the mileage varied a little bit there. It was almost a little try hard at times with the comedy. I don't get that sense at all with Curry Barker. So I think this kid, he appears to be a kid. He looks super young. I think he's got a real future. And yeah, Chime and Milk and Cereal, you can watch these in less time than the movie we'll probably talk about next week. So like you probably be a better use of your time, but we'll see with whatever we talk about next week. But
and that'll put a wrap on 2024. I'm not saying we're never going to come back to 2024 ever again, but again, slow week. It's 2023 now. Movies you might have missed in 2023 that we suggest you should watch. We haven't heard from Abby yet. So Abby, throw your first 2023 movie out.
Which one do you have ready first?
They're all ready.
Okay, great. Then I'll start with this is a movie that I saw on Shudder, and I really haven't heard that many people talking about it, but I quite enjoyed it when I watched it. It's called Brooklyn 45. I said this last week. It's been a minute since I've seen, I think, all 3 of these movies. So a lot of the details are fuzzy, but this one in particular, it's a group of, I believe it was World War II veterans. They're all good buddies and they get together, and this entire movie is shot in basically just one room. They're all sitting together in a room and they're just kind of talking about their war stories and their traumas, and some of them did not so great things that they're not proud of. And then some supernatural stuff kind of starts happening. And honestly, like I said, I mean, I thought that it was a pretty decent Shudder movie from when it came out. Again, it's not the greatest movie of all time. But I really enjoyed it when I watched it. I thought all of the performances were good from what I remember. I thought it was interesting enough, especially for just being like one of these one location kinds of movies. I thought it was really solid. And if you have a free moment and you're scrolling through Shudder and see it, I think it would be worth your time.
Awesome. I still haven't seen it, but I do plan to see it. I'm going to go 2 for 2 in my first 2023 suggestion. I'm going to give you guys another Indian dialect movie to check out. This one's called Virupaksha, and I cannot make the same guarantees I made last week. This is a long as hell movie because most Indian movies are. This does have musical numbers that are just forced into the movie. It does have like oddly behind the times special effects. And I'm telling you all this up front because this movie is like a 4.5-star movie anyway, which is crazy. Like the story itself, it's like a curse. It's kind of like if somebody did Smile but cared about it. Because the curse in this movie is exactly the same. Like people are dying, and every time they die, the person closest to them, it passes to that next person. And there's like this death curse going through this town, but we actually know why, and we know the origin of it. So it's like a fleshed out Smile. If Parker Finn cared, he would have made Vera Pop shit. Check it out. Aaron, what's your first movie?
Well, Parker Finn doesn't care, and he never has to because he just keeps making Smile movies. But I can't wait for Smile 3 with the 3 instead of the E. And cannot wait for that. But anyways, my first movie is directed by a Playmate of the Month, April 2000. I just looked up, and Baywatch as well. Brandy Roderick directed a movie in 2023 that not many people saw, unfortunately. It was called Wineville. And a little bit something about me, Aaron. I love Italian horror, particularly 70s Italian horror. And I'll be honest, this has the setup straight out of like Bay of Blood for me. Like, because it's about a woman who has an abusive father who she escapes his like clutches, and then he dies, so she has to go back to his vineyard estate to settle some things with her really annoying son, Walter. Worst part of the movie is this child, Walter. He's a horrible kid, and he does definitely affect some of my enjoyment on the movie, to be honest. But honestly, I thought Brandy Roderick really brought it as the director here. Like, she did really well. She has a lot of promise. The budget of this movie had to be $10, so you got to kind of get past some of the low budget aspects of it. But that's also part of 70s Italian horror, so like I feel like it kind of goes into it. But what ends up coming from like the aunt as well, like she's really good. I believe that was Carolyn Hennessy. And Brandy Roderick was really good in the lead as well. And this is just like the definition of a hidden gem to me. I feel like this is probably my most unknown movie on the list. It's at minimum watchable, I think, for people, but like I really think for certain people it's really going to work, and I was one of those people. So Wineville, I highly recommend it to anybody, and I believe it's on Tubi.
All right, Abby, what's your second film of 2023?
So my second film, I believe this is another one that I ended up watching on Shudder. It had I think it had some buzz. I forget if it was from awards. It had buzz from somewhere. And it is, I'm pretty sure it's a Spanish language movie. It's called Huesera, the Bone Woman.
It's Peruvian.
It's Peruvian. Okay, I apologize.
No, it's bad. That's Spanish. It's fine.
It is Spanish language. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Peruvian.
Anyway,
we can edit that out, so it's less racist.
Oh my god.
It's not really racial. It's just ethnically insensitive, and it's fine. Abby's from Hamilton. It's okay.
I thought. Never mind. So
we're white.
This is a movie that I have wanted to go back and check out again. Maybe not right this moment, because there's a lot of it's a lot of dark themes in regards to like motherhood and pregnancy and that kind of thing, and that's just not something that I want to go to right now. But it is a movie that I do want to go back to at some point, and kind of revisit it once again. Again, I remember it being really solid. I remember performances being really good. Again, I'm pretty sure it still is on Shudder, so it's one that I would definitely recommend if you're into the kind of like dark grief, kind of those types of movies.
Yeah, I second Huesera the Bone Woman. No
Great
problem. Going the opposite direction of Huesera the Bone Woman, I have a unabashedly American horror comedy in Onyx the Fortuitous and the Talisman of Souls, which was like, I was not expecting anything out of this movie. Andrew Bowser directs and he plays Onyx, and it is a character that someone like this guy. Like we all know who I think this main character is. But like, it's so good. He is so, and if you go on YouTube, you'll find him doing so many skits as Onyx, and Jeffrey Cohen shows up in this movie. Like, obviously a lot of people respect his comedic horror chops. This movie is, I don't want to spoil what it's about. Like, Go watch Onyx the Fortuitous and the Talisman of Souls. I promise you'll have a good time. And look up all of Andrew Bowser's stuff on the internet. Aaron?
All right. Well, I said Wineville was pretty unknown. This second one also unknown, which I know is kind of the point of what we're doing. But I, this past year, got into Larry Fessenden. And I watched Habit. I watched Wendigo. Really loved Wendigo. And this movie might be better than both of those for me. It is Blackout, starring Alex Hurt, son of William Hurt. And William Hurt, one of my favorite actors of all time, Altered State, so many other great movies he's been in. And it's not exactly reinventing the wheel of the werewolf genre by having kind of the allegory to alcoholism and things like that and how you turn into a monster and you don't remember. But it like puts that right on its sleeve by having the main character be an alcoholic. He starts to black out and have he's starting to suspect that he is a werewolf. But it's played very slow. There's a lot of talking. The characters are kind of monotone, not quite in like a I Saw the TV Glow or Yorgos type of way, but a similar kind of deliberate way where their characters are just kind of depressed. So for some people, I could see this movie being too slow, too boring. But I mean, there's just like some incredible emotionally earned moments in this. And I think that the practicals were rather impressive that they used for the werewolf. You don't get a lot of good looks at him, which is how I always prefer my monster movies anyways. And just Alex Hurt, there's at the end of the movie, it literally says for dad. I have a weakness for that kind of thematic when it's done with heart, especially. Like there's moments in it where Alex Hurt is looking through pictures of himself as a kid with William Hurt, and that's when I realized it was William Hurt's son. I was like, oh shit! Like they didn't just it's literally a picture of young William Hurt with Alex Hurt as a kid, and it just it really was like a moving There's some really moving moments. If I had to compare this to another movie, I compare it to 25th Hour, but for werewolves. He's trying to come into touch base with all the people in his life before he fully is lost to this. And it is really emotionally rich, but also having some great moments of werewolf violence within it. But again, it's a movie with a lower budget, but Larry Fessenden really knows what he's doing. And it's again, cool to see with Kurosawa, a guy who still kind of has his fastball going this far into the future. I mean, when Dango is 24, 25 years old, Habit, another one where Habit was a different take, more emotional take on vampires. Now he's done with werewolves. So really
also a great character actor, Larry Fessenden. Whenever he shows up in a movie, a great character actor.
Yeah, but Alex Hurt, I think, has a ton of talent. I'd love to see him in more stuff because I honestly think he's got the talent gene from his dad. So great movie that not enough people have seen. It is slow though.
Abby, your last movie for 2023.
So my last movie, if you go on my Letterboxd, you will see that I was not initially that high on this movie. It's called The Outwaters. It's a very small indie kind of movie that when it came out and became available to people, a lot of people were comparing this movie to something like Skinamarink, which I kind of see the parallels to it. Again, you just have to watch the movie. I wanted to talk about this movie because it's one that I've thought about a lot, and I really would at some point want to revisit it because I think maybe at the time I was a little too hard on it. I think that this movie is, especially if you like found footage, I think it's very creative. I even said when I initially saw it, the beginning, a lot of people complained that the beginning was slow. I didn't mind the beginning with the people. It's basically about a group of, it's like a band. They're going out into the desert looking for inspiration to record an album or a song or something like that. And then weird things start happening. And I think that I prefer this over Skinamarink if we're going to compare the two. I think it's a movie that I think people should see. And even if you don't like it, I think it is a unique viewing experience. This director, I think he will at some point do more. His name's Robbie Banfitch, I think it is. I think he will do something more in the future at some point. But yeah, I think if you haven't seen this movie and you have a very open mind, even if you don't end up liking it, I think it's a movie worth seeing.
Okay. And I did not break tradition this week. I did a Indian movie, a horror comedy, and then a movie from my country that people don't usually watch movies from. My third movie is, this is just that says The Undertaker in Thai. It's a Thai. It's a horror comedy, it says, but a lot of the comment, and this is going to sound like I'm just like, I hate this movie. I am not Thai. I don't know if you can tell by looking at me. So a lot of the comedy in this movie misses me, but like I enjoyed it anyway on like a fully like horror comedy level. Because again, like a lot of like Indonesian, Thai, like Malaysian movies, like the religious stuff blows past me. I don't understand it. I'm not in that culture, but I feel that this transcends that, and it's worth a watch anyway because the bones of the movie are fantastic. So check out The Undertaker if you get a chance.
All right, my last movie, probably the most known and still painfully underseen at this point. I'm waiting for this movie to blow up at some point. It's Divinity, Eddie Alcarez. Man, this movie, I saw the trailer. I don't watch a lot of trailers. I watched this trailer. I was like, yeah, this movie was made in the lab for Aaron. Like, it's 16 millimeter black and white cinematography was like the most visually stunning of that year. I remember saying that it has an amazing performance by Brad Dourif, or by
Stephen Dorff. Yeah.
Stephen Dorff. Not Brad. Brad Dourif should have been in this movie. And we're trying to do 5-star. Stephen Dorff is amazing in this movie. I think this was at least partially inspired by Elon Musk, which is now takes on a different level of thing. But I really do think it's about a genius willing to do whatever they can do to stop, kind of the natural progression of things. That's, I guess, how I'll put it. There's like an infertility problem going on a decaying Earth, and then there's this serum being created to basically keep you from dying, and capitalists are trying to capitalize on that. And then 2 alien brothers are sent to Earth to stop this from happening. And that's all the not crazy parts. Mike O'Hearn, who's the guy from the memes, the Don't Hurt Me memes, the really buff blonde dude.
He used to be an American Gladiator. He was one of them.
And he was in Death Becomes Her, apparently.
Yeah.
That guy is the most perfectly casted for his role, like, I think I've ever seen. Like,
yes.
Just walks around in whitey tighties the whole time, being just like a hot, muscular blonde dude. Like, that's his whole character. And it's just like there's so many like crazy images in this movie, and like it wears its philosophy like right on its sleeve. It doesn't try to hide that it's like at times borderline lecturing you on these things, and it's like hammering it into your head. And I just think like this guy has such a future as long as he's allowed to have a future and gets more opportunities. Like this movie I saw in an empty theater, Billionaire Status. I drove like an hour to see this movie as well, and like I didn't regret a bit about it. It felt like a 70s movie kind of with its ambitions as well. I know I've said that a couple of times here, but just because like it's so its own thing, like I don't know what else I could even compare it to.
It is its own movie.
Yeah, I've just never seen a movie like this. And Steven Soderbergh produced it. He's our boy from Presents, well, some of our boys from Presents. Like, again, it's kind of similar to what you mentioned with Things Will Be Different, where it's like, this feels like it could have been Steven Soderbergh's movie, but he like found somebody with like a unique eye for this specific type of thing. I haven't seen Eddie Alcarez's other movie, Perfection, but it looks like it's along the same type of lines. And that came out 5 years before this. So I think we have till 2028 to wait for the follow-up to Divinity, but I will be seated in a theater by myself or with Abby.
That'll be covered 2023. But hey, we also did the Why We Love Horror Challenge this week, so we have 3 more movies to talk about. You can go on over to this site and join us. Pick movies, prompt every week. This week it is watch an Asian horror film, but we made it a little harder because most of them are from Japan or South Korea. You weren't allowed to pick those two countries. And since we finished on Aaron, we will start with Aaron. Aaron, what was your movie that is not from those countries?
So I went with a movie I've been getting told about by Abby, by you, by anybody who knows I'm into found footage. It is The Medium, Thai movie, and an incredible Thai movie at that. Right there is Mim, the character Mim. She is the highlight of the movie for me. I don't want to really spoil where it goes, but she plays a shaman, and it just it takes that mockumentary approach, which I have a soft spot for that type of found footage genre, particularly when it's done well. They do such a good job of getting you to care about these characters, particularly Mim and Mink, which you're going to hear the name Mink, I think 2,000 times in the movie. If you drink to the name Mink, you will die. So, but yeah, and then the turn in the final third, which is a key to justifying any great found footage movie, where the first third is nothing's happening, which I hate as a description for those kind of movies. It's only nothing's happening if nothing happens. It's very purposeful what is shown at the beginning of this movie. It really lived up to the hype for me. This is one of my new favorite found footage movies for sure of the last 5 years. I think it's great. One of the best Shudder releases to date, and there's a lot of really good Shudder releases. That could be a fun video at some point. Maybe our top 10 Shudder releases.
Next time the theaters fuck us over, maybe we'll be back for our favorite show.
Yeah, and by the way, just real quick, the theaters could have easily put in The Toxic Avenger in one of these last 2 weeks instead of waiting until the end of August. But that's another rant for another day.
Yeah. Well, my movie, I'll go next. It's a movie Aaron's already seen, and it's from a country that this is the first movie I can ever remember seeing a movie from Laos. It's a Laotian movie called The Long Walk. And honestly, nothing about this being Laos or being low budget comes through at all. It hits. This movie hits. And the only thing I'll say about it, because this movie is probably very easy to spoil, I would say. But most movies, you watch for an hour and a half, and the twist happens, and you're dealing with it. This movie delivers the twist in the first 3 minutes.
Yes.
And then you're just watching all the characters deal with the twist for 2 hours, which is a refreshing change of pace. So that's all I'll say about The Long Walk. Check out The Long Walk. It's worth it.
So good.
Abby?
So I watched a movie from Hong Kong, and it's called Dumplings. So I think the short came first. It started as a short in an anthology movie called Three Extremes, and then they just made this into a feature-length one, because I think I haven't seen Three Extremes. My understanding is Dumplings is the most popular of the three. This is the feature-length movie, and I liked it for what it was. I mean, I didn't enjoy what I was watching. It's a very gross movie. The sound in particular will really this is not I said this to Aaron. I was like, this is not an eating movie.
Do not. Don't order Chinese food and then watch anything like this.
So yeah, I'm not gonna say what the thing is, but the very basic plot is it's about the plot is probably slightly similar to The Substance, but it's not a similar movie. It's about
motivations are the same.
It's an aging actress who is looking for a way to stay young, and she comes across someone who is helping her do that with dumplings, and that's all. So I mean, if you're in the mood to be grossed out, I mean, I would recommend it. There's also other disturbing things that happen in this movie too that you might not be ready for.
I think women are going to be less ready for this movie than they think, because it is about one thing and then other things happen that women are going to find very uncomfortable.
Yes.
The Illuminati does this already.
That'll do it for this week. Join us next week when we actually cover a new release. The Rule of Jenny Penn is coming out. John Lithgow, thank you for gracing us. We'll be checking out your movie this week and covering it next week. But if you made it far in this video, like, comment, subscribe, and share. Go to the Facebook group at Why We Love Horror. Go back to the Letterboxd challenge there. Join that. Interact with us. We love it. And the schedule here is always the same. Mondays versus Thursday, Why We Love Horror, you're watching it. And Friday, Why We Love Horror Trivia. Until next time, I'm John, and that's Abby and Aaron, and this has been Why We Love Horror.